Hello and welcome back to the Don Michelle sponsored A View from Section C. It is episode 56. We're not starting the new season yet because we've not started the new season.
Nope.
So still season 2. But yeah, Senior, how have you been? It's been a couple of months since the last episode.
Yeah. I know. The two of us just kind of stopped going on holiday, Junior. That's what it is.
Yeah, I know.
That's what it is. The sun keeps calling. I've got a good friend that stays in Fife who has an apartment that's got my name on it. Every so often.
Hold on. There is no such thing as a good
There is.
friend from Fife.
There is. There is.
Other than my wife.
No. Sorry to say, but when you know who it is,
Oh, yeah.
he's a good friend of ours and a good friend of the show. So when you get a shot of his studio apartment, then you take it. Yeah. But
it's
I've been looking forward to this one though, Junior, I must admit.
yeah, well, obviously it's been a while since we've done an episode, and we thought, well, we're going to come back with an episode. We'll probably have another couple of weeks off again, but we'll come back. We'll get a special guest on the show. But just so you see that, being away on holiday, you were away to Ben Medina. I was away to Tenerife. I've been away reffing in Ireland. I've been away with work to Elgin, down to deep, dark Fife. I've been traveling a lot. And you know what happened the other day, Senior?
Did you meet a friend?
I did meet a friend. I met a friend the other day, and you'll never guess what he said to us.
He says to you,
"Yep.
Did you meet the new Gretzky?"
He did. A player that was the new Gretzky. So ultimately, I asked my friend, what was his name? Senior, what was his name?
He said that his name was AJ MacLean.
It is AJ MacLean, is our special guest.
What an intro.
Oh, listen, this, for me.
That was unpracticed. That was just total ad lib.
Well, to be fair, I've practiced that in the house for about the last week or so, going through it with Shannon saying this is what I'm going to say, and I can't wait to say it. For me, right, we've had Robert Dowdon, GB legend and Senior's best friend in the world. We've had Rio on, which is massive. Obviously Rio's, bringing in the NHLers into the propulsion now.
Yeah.
But for me, this is the biggest scoop for the show.
Definitely.
This is the biggest one.
AJ MacLean. Make me blush now. Come on, make me blush here.
AJ, how have you been?
I've been good. I think just to start though, I think I disagree with you about the Fife thing. I got a great friend in Fife, if you remember, old Brucey Forsyth. I still keep in touch with him.
Yeah. Brucey's Dundonian at heart. We all know that.
He's a hybrid. He's a hybrid for sure. I think if I would have known you were bringing me that way, I might have had my oldest boy around here. True story is when I have two boys now. One's my oldest is Lachlan, my youngest is Tulloch. Both boys when they were babies, you know how you sing them and rock them to sleep. And true story, I would sing or hum the AJ MacLean song to them. And it honestly worked. It did. It worked. It was like a little lullaby for them. And,
tremendous.
The other day, my youngest guy, Tully, he's only 2. He's learned how to speak, and he said something to his brother, and I just hear from the other room. He goes, "Daddy, Tully said a word," and I said, "Oh yeah," and then I just hear him going, "Tully MacLean, Tully MacLean." I busted a gut. Like I didn't see that come. Like he's never done that in a year.
Brilliant.
And he just busted out right there. Yeah, it was yesterday. So it's a good laugh. But things have been good since I left. Obviously, I was coaching. I got married. I have 2 boys now. It's been really great.
And what's that? 10 years since the Stars.
Yeah.
It's and it doesn't feel like 10 years. I was speaking to Shannon about it the other day, and just again how excited I was to get one of my favourite players from Stars history. And I was saying that it doesn't feel like it was 10 years ago that We were all standing there. You'd brought the yes movement to Dundee. You know, for people that weren't there, the new fans that are now at the Stars and stuff, that weren't here for AJ, the Daniel Bryan yes movement found its way to Dundee.
Yes,
Again, that was something special. But yeah, 10 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a little bit too long, right? Like, when you look back on it, it seems like it's been short.
Yeah.
But now that, you know, the three of us are talking, it makes you realize how long it's been. I think as time went on, I know I've kept in real good touch with Andy Bell and with Brucey, a little bit with JD, but as time goes on, you know, it just, for whatever reason, you just kind of drift. So it's been nice that I got an opportunity to get back talking again.
You've stopped being able to understand John through those years that you've missed out.
I think that's in my head forever. I think it's completely that got wired in there. If he was going to be my winger, or more accurately, if I was going to be his winger, I needed to know what he was saying.
Yeah. It's one of the things. Now, I normally come, AJ, Junior will tell you, I'm so unprofessional at this, right?
Yep.
He does everything, right? And I thought, I'm going to better do a bit of homework. And I wrote something down, and it was JD, legend. So many goals, so many points in his Stars career. Overall, right? Great, probably the Mr. Dundee.
Oh, yeah.
And I've wrote, the biggest question is, could you understand him?
Early on, it was tough, I got to admit. But the more time you spend around JD and just anybody in general, if you don't understand the dialect or just the accent, you got to get used to it, right? It was, I noticed early on, and it made total sense. It's not something that I thought about coming into it, but early on, when, you know, in most locker rooms, you come in and you talk about, oh, did you see this NHL highlight, that NHL? You're always talking about hockey. I noticed that all of our Scottish guys were talking about the Premiership, or, you know, the Scottish Premier League.
Yeah.
And I had no idea at that point. I was just started a few years before that. I think when I first started watching footy, it was when Spain won their first Euros. I was really infatuated with how they played and all that. So I was just fresh into watching it, and I just learned quickly I better watch the Premiership and know what's going on if I want to, you know, be able to just bond with my teammates. Like if you go for a pint or you're just sitting in the room, you need to know what's going on. And they were really patient with me because, of course, I wasn't as into it as they were at the time. But over the course of the year, of course, I've been full on ever since now, and I still keep up with it.
Yeah. So we'll get into our what we'd said. Obviously, we always like to send over our guests a little spiel just so that they're not totally taken back by any questions. But yeah, so you had started kind of you were ECHL, CHL, IHL. Obviously, you'd played with quite a lot of guys around that league. One of senior's favourite players, Jay Tulip.
Mine too.
So, one hell of a player. And then guys like Jeff Legui from Sheffield. So some big house names that were in the elite league eventually. So how did kind of signing for Dundee come about for you? You know, we were a brand new team to the elite league. So how did they pitch it to you?
They didn't really, because as you know, I was never one of the bigger names like to put up points. But what ended up happening was my brother that summer got a job. He was still with the Arizona Coyotes, but he was promoted from being a video scout to an amateur scout. So he had to move from Arizona all the way up to the Bellingham, Washington, which is the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. And so just the two of us said, all right, I'll come down. I'll help you move. We drove the whole way. I, of course, at the time had a Canadian phone, I believe. So I had it was basically off the whole time. And by the time we got to his place after a couple days, I kind of flipped my phone back on, got to Wi-Fi, and I think it was an email or a text from Brent Hughes saying, hey, I'm the player assistant in Dundee. We're looking for guys to come over. And I remember just being in like a full-on panic because I've always wanted to get to Europe. Like after 3 or 4 years, and whether it was the East Coast League or Central League, I kind of wanted to, if I was going to be in those leagues, I wanted to be in Europe where I could experience something else. And that was where my goal was. So this was a few days had gone by since this text came in, and I was scrambling just to get a hold of Hughesy and be like, is the offer still there? Like, do you still need a guy? And I was lucky enough that it was, and we worked through it pretty quickly to get there, especially being Scotland. My whole life I've wanted to go just to even visit, and let alone play there, live there, experience it like fully. That was a home run for me. I was extremely excited to go.
Yeah. Now you say, you weren't a big point scorer, but you probably led the team in all 3 seasons with shots blocked, without a doubt. I still remember there was one play where I think you blocked about 3 shots in a row, and you were still playing the puck with a broken stick. Like, you were kicking it out the zone, and
I think I remember that one. Yeah.
Where the fuck's this guy doing this? Like, what the fuck?
I think I showed my very poor footy skills on that one.
Well, to be fair, you could probably get a game for United now with some touches like that. So,
do you know what? The blocking shots, that was always kind of in my thing, but it was actually Matt Suderman who really would stick it to me a little bit. Yeah. We'd always have little friendly competitions, and he said, "Oh, I'm a defenseman, so I'll give you 2-to-1 odds. So every 2 shots I block, you get 1, and we'll see who gets the most at the end of the game." And it was kind of because we were buddies and we always were hanging out together. It was kind of like a little friendly competition, pride thing with Sudi, and that's where we really kind of buckled down on that. That's where it came from, is because we didn't want the other guy to outdo us.
Yeah. As a forward, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. I try to tell that stories throughout the years with our guys to see if they block a little bit more shots. So far, it hasn't worked out too well.
So what we'll do is we'll get Stars TV to look out the footage for that one clip, the 3 blocks in a row and kicking out the zone. We'll send it over, and you could use it in future.
Yeah, there's been times I've been debating on using just a couple funny highlights. I've done it through maybe our development staff every now and again. There'll be a highlight that comes up. Someone will post on Twitter, and I'll say, "Hey, maybe we take a look at this guy." Goes over some heads. Some people get it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, but hey, without doubt, probably the biggest asset in any Stars team for penalty killing.
It was fun.
Doubt. It was always, you knew it was going to be difficult for a power play goal when AJ's on the penalty kill. Always. There's always the body was there.
It was something I needed to do to contribute. That's for sure. Yeah. It started pretty much right out of junior. I had to contribute in some ways because I wasn't putting a lot of points on the board. So it was something I could hang my hat on.
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned the late Matt Suderman, and obviously Peter Cartwright as well. Guys that you'd played with a couple of years before coming to the Stars in Arizona. I'm trying to think back. Obviously, it's over 10 years ago now.
Decade.
Had they already signed at that point, or did you play a part in them coming?
I'm pretty sure Sudi and Cartwright were already signed.
Okay. What was it like joining back up with them?
Oh, it's great. I mean, Sudi was always like the life of the room. He was always very funny and loud, and he was always stirring the pot, and that was kind of his personality. And Pete, he might be the best storyteller I've ever been around. He can deliver a story like the best of them, and he was a funny guy in his own right. And then, of course, as the year went on, when Jay came, he's probably hands down the funniest teammate just all around that I've ever known. He is one of the funniest guys. I still send a text here and there. Actually, there was one time, must have been 4 or 5 years ago. He lives close to Syracuse. He lives in upstate New York.
Yep.
And I get a text from him saying, "Hey, do you mind? I might come to one of your games. Can I get about 4 or 5 tickets?" I said, "Yeah, sure. See what we can do. Maybe I'll see you afterwards if you can stick around." Yada yada. And he brings some of his buddies with him, and it wasn't just like a game they wanted to go see. It was like a night out for them. Mm-hmm. And so they were in full on hooligan mode in the stands, and I'm kind of giggling. Like, they're in the middle of Syracuse, where Syracuse crowd, they're loud on their own, and it's a full building. It's a very small building, and there'd be pockets of silence where you just all of a sudden you just hear like, McLean, you suck, or what a terrible power player. Just little things like that. And then we had to walk off the ice where Jay was above with his 4 or 5 buddies, and as we're walking off, they're just like pointing at me, booing, and all of our players and our coaching staff were like, AJ, what's going on with this guy? And I was like, I couldn't stop laughing. Like, I was belly laughing across the ice, and I'm trying not to belly laugh, trying to keep it together, and I'm just like, oh my God, Jay. He got me pretty good that day.
That's brilliant. Yeah. There's been some stories that we've heard about Latulip over the years, even from his time in down at the other clubs in the elite league and stuff, and it's just, you could tell he was a character on the ice. He was a fiery little character, but he enjoyed it. I can still remember, I think it was his first game for us in Braehead, and he scored the winning penalty shot. I think it just trickled through the 5-hole and no more, and his celebration, he just went absolutely crazy. And he scored the game winner against Cardiff as well to stop them
that was a good
getting their Guinness World Record. And his celebration, considering that was his old team, his celebration was just over the top. It was just, what a character.
He's some boy.
Yeah. Your second season with the Stars was when everyone's favourite player, for rumours every season, is can we re-sign Mark Kalanos? Every season we get this. Can we re-sign Mark Kalanos?
Even now we still get that.
I bet. He's probably in good enough shape to come back, too. He's always an in-shape guy.
If people are going to be listening, they're going to be jumping all over this now, saying they're going to be messaging Lefebvre saying, can we sign up Mark Kalanos for next year? But Kalo, did you pull the strings on that one? Because he came in obviously halfway through, and what a player he was.
I can't fully remember. I don't think I pulled any strings on it, other than maybe I was just asked, like, what do you think of what do you think of him? You played with him. And of course I would have gave Kalo a glowing recommendation. When we were in Arizona, and we were, I lived with Sudi at home, but road trips, Kalo and I were roommates in every hotel. So I knew he was a great guy. He, like I said, he always kept himself in top shape. Which, if you can do that, you're going to produce in the elite league. So I knew it was going to be a home run to get him.
Yeah. First game senior hat-trick against Nottingham.
I think it was. Yeah.
I think it was a 7-4 or a 7-3 win.
7-3 or 7-4, something like that. It might have been a 7-3, and he just ripped them apart. Absolutely ripped them apart.
Yeah, he was quite a player.
Everybody's looking at Kalo just going, where has this guy been?
Yeah.
What a player he was.
But for yourself, AJ, obviously 3 seasons with the club, 2 as captain. How, that was your first time being named captain. How did it feel for you as not only for it's a team and a city that you grew to love so much? How did you feel getting named captain?
I was very proud. That was one of the coolest moments throughout my playing career. I think I grew up, of course, with my dad teaching me the ins and outs of hockey, and it was always, you don't just give the captaincy away. You don't just give letters away. You have to earn it. Like, that's part of what he would say to me. AJ, if you're going to be a captain, you have to earn it by how you act, how you talk, how you do it every day. Yeah. You don't just give it away. And of course, as time has gone on, that's a little bit untrue. Now it's just, usually it's just the best player gets it all the time, whether they're kids or in professional hockey, you just give it to the best player. But for me, because I grew up that way, and knowing that I was never the best player or the biggest point producer, to be named captain, that was just a little bit more special, I think, just on a personal note. It's actually in my house in Nova Scotia. I only have 2 jerseys hanging up. My wife did them up very nice for me, I think a couple summers ago. And the Dundee one with the captain on it is one of the 2 that's up there.
You mean
that one right there? One? Yeah, that's the one. Look at that.
And this one also, I've got a little thing because obviously, as I do, this one also made it to WrestleMania.
I like it.
And
that's what we're talking about right there.
There's also a very famous for us being fans, but a famous fan of AJ MacLean in R-Truth, the WWE wrestler.
When I saw that, I laughed so hard. So hard I laughed. Because, I mean, I've always been pretty honest. I do enjoy wrestling, and I definitely enjoyed it when I was younger. More so than now when I have kids. It doesn't get turned on very often. But when I saw that picture, it floored me. What's up?
Steph and I went through and we said, we're taking AJ's top. We need to take the top. We're getting a picture taken with the VIP passes that we had. And, no word of a lie, the first person was Ryback. And
he would have ripped it apart.
he turned around and he said, do you mind if we get a picture with you with this? And he just goes, no, I ain't doing that. And I was like, well, fuck you, I'm not getting a picture with you then. And me and Steph just walked to the back of the queue, and when R-Truth came out, R-Truth's like, yeah, too right, I'll do this, yeah. Right in there, right, see, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, you've got a fan in R-Truth.
that was funny for me when I saw that. It was great. I think the only other thing, I've gone to a few shows around here, just either with my brother, he used to live in town for a bit, and I can't remember exactly why. I think WWE came to town, and something to do with Kyle Dubas when he was with the GM here. They gave him they gave the organization a proper championship belt.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that at the time, but like the next day, Kyle came in and he basically like laid it on my desk, and I was just like, "What is this?" That's a good picture. It wasn't for me, but he at least let me got to see one, hold one.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. So
Kyle Dubas is a good guy.
No.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, you're a Pittsburgh guy. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Right. So listen. This is an interview about Kyle Dubas. Okay.
That's
we are going to bring someone up because AJ's just mentioned him, which is the legend who was coach of the Ottawa Senators and Paul McLean. Still, one of my most favorite days was meeting him at training and having a nice little chat with him. Didn't realize it was the whole training session, and I did apologize, but it was good to get a chat with him during the lockout.
Yeah, he had a great time.
How is your dad? What's he doing now?
He's good. Him and Mom are at our family cottage in Nova Scotia. Don't know if he's fully retired yet. He's for sure. He'd listen if somebody called, but I think he's done knocking on doors. He's enjoying his life. He's got to come see us a few times. My sister lives not too far away from him, so that's good. Mom and Dad are doing well. They're good. Yeah.
Senior, I think we might try and pitch a Paul McLean interview after this.
Oh, how good would that be?
That would be the pinnacle.
That would be the podcast done.
we'd retire on it. A former NHL coach would retire on it. But
you speak of the time. You speak of the time when he came over there. That was awesome for me. I remember that so well. Like for him to get over there, and I mean, I think one of my favorite pictures that I have of just him and I in our whole lives is there. It was a man of the match. I think from Dad told the story to me that either before the game or partway through the game, one of the wards said, "Paul, we'd like you to pick the man of the match." And he said, "All right, it's AJ." And I said, "No, we have to watch the game and see who it actually is." He goes, "No, it's AJ." And he goes, if I came all the way over here and I tell my wife that I had to pick the man of the match and I didn't pick our son, that's not going to be good." And so they kind of had a laugh over it. It turns out I think I played pretty good enough to be warranted the man of the match, but it's him and I with a case of Budweiser with the biggest grins on our faces. It was awesome. That was a good time for us.
What was obviously because the family being over and stuff. What was it like when the fans were doing the chant when they were there? What was their thoughts of like, holy shit, like this is our son? Like they love him.
I think they loved it. My parents and any family that came over. It wasn't just my parents that came over. My brother and sister and I had two cousins and a good family friend come over. And they all thought it was incredible. They thought just everybody in the town was incredible, especially at the rink. It was a special place where everybody was so positive and treated us so well. I think those are the things that always stood out for me, not so much the on ice stuff, but like the different stories that come about of importance with my own family, like that, just say that picture there. Or there's a time where my mom and our cousin, who's the same age as her, it was my first year, and we were looking for sponsorships, and on the plane ride over, my cousin, he ended up coming up with Department 9. He didn't have a plan for it. He just got the domain name. He was actually doing a Sudoku, and that's where it comes. He goes, Department 9, and that was a sponsor for, I think it was me, Sudi, and Dan at the time. And that Department 9 has now grown from just that to, he started making like little pens for us. He made hats, and now it's a massive production company out in Edmonton, Alberta for artists, whether it's movies, music, painting. It's grown through that. Another quick story is, I think the last goal I ever scored for Dundee, one of my cousins was there with his wife and kids. They've just traveling through to have a trip through Scotland and England. It just worked out randomly that they could come to one of our home games. And I scored literally right in front of them. It was, I think they weren't on the Dundee side. They were on the far side. I scored right in front of them, and I remember turning around, and all of us were just like, "Hey, how about that?" and that ended up being the last goal I ever scored, last goal I ever scored.
Did that have a WWE celebration text? I know we had the Randy Orton every now and again, and the John Cena, and
it might have. I can't remember the celebration other than like I can still see my cousin Dave's eyes where both of us turned and we're like, "Hey, how about that?"
Brilliant. But there has been. Sorry, on you go, Senior.
No, I was just going to say, I know we're interviewing AJ, but when your dad came over, it was a massive thing for the Stars fans because of, at that time, this is Paul McLean. This is an actual NHL coach coming into the building. And people were buzzing, absolutely buzzing for it. And I suppose for yourself and your dad, it was probably just like, yeah, okay.
Well, funny enough, I was going to say, no, it was actually for whatever the fans, I totally can see how that was a huge thing. But for whatever all of you guys felt and how excited you were and how, all the emotions you felt about that, I would almost argue it was probably more so for my dad and I, because that doesn't happen in the hockey world, right? Like there's during the season, my dad wasn't able to see a whole lot of me play, whether I was a kid growing up or not. That's just the way the life was. So to get a break in his schedule where he could actually come so far to a place that, meant so much to me, and we got to just spend one-on-one time together, that it was one of the best moments in my career. So I understand how excited the fans would have been, but for my dad and I, it was like through the roof. For us just to go to, ticketies after the game and just sit and nobody knows who he is, and just hang out. There's actually one night we went there and we were just hanging out, and I think Hutchie was there with us, and a fella came over, just a normal guy out of the street, and he didn't know who any of us were, and he started talking with us. "Oh, you're from North America? Okay, cool." And we didn't really let on what we did. We just said we were around, and he was pretty close to being overserved. He was in a jovial mood, and he started calling my dad Colonel Sanders because of his mustache, his big glasses, and Hutchie was kind of like, hey man, like almost like, "Hey, do you know who you're talking to here?" And I quickly kind of grabbed Hutchie. I was like, "Let this thing go, man. Like, watch." Like, it was so. My dad was laughing about it. Like, it was years since somebody just treated him like, Paul from Nova Scotia. So it was a fun time, and it was little moments like that for us where we could just be ourselves, and we didn't have to, worry about people spotting the head coach of the Senators. We could just be dad and son.
Other than me.
Other
than this guy. But yeah, you obviously you had a lot of memorable moments in Dundee that we could touch on. Your first ever experience of Fife, you know, the shithole that it is.
I love going there. I mean, yeah, I know the rivalry is so great, but it always seemed very respectful from my side of the glass. It always seemed very respectful, which is great when it's that way. I mean, I still think like on ice, I don't think I've ever been a part of an anthem that was more kind of, you know, when you feel the hairs rise up on your arms and stuff than a Fife and Dundee anthem. When everybody's in there singing the Flower of Scotland, I remember just being like, oh, this is something else. Like you kind of try to get it in North America, and I've been through a couple big ones where people are singing, and it is nice, but nothing has come close to that anthem.
Yeah.
With a Fife and Dundee derby.
Yeah. But you've been parts of games where Rio was kicked out after the whole Ben Bounds incident. You've been involved in a bench clearance with Fife at our Christmas game. And my personal favourite was your celebration in the crowd in Whitley Bay after beating Newcastle, after getting about 4 guys kicked out for fighting and winning 3-2, and AJ's running up into the stands to celebrate.
I was actually going to ask you, like, what happened in that game, because I remember running up in the fans, and when you emailed me that question, I honestly couldn't remember for the life of me what happened in the game.
Yeah,
I don't know the score. I don't know if I scored. I don't know what happened. I just remember hearing everyone, like it was right by our locker room.
Yeah,
and I ran up in the stands.
We'd had a lot of guys. I think so. I'm pretty sure Hughesy was kicked out. Macway was kicked out.
Macway was out.
I think Suds was out as well, or Nebus was out. There was a few guys kicked out, and it all kicked off. A few guys kicked out. We'd won 3-2. It was the first time we'd won down there, and I still remember Neil, who used to sit in front of us. He was on the plexi at the end of the game, legs dangling a lot. There was a lot of drunk people that night, and then for AJ to then come in the stand, coming up the stairs. So if people have never been to Whitley Bay, basically the players walk underneath the stands, and fans could actually go down the stairs and then walk around with them, because that's where you go to exit the stands and stuff. So AJ's obviously going to the changing room from the penalty box area and up the stairs to celebrate with the crowd going absolutely bananas.
Yeah. The other part of that memory that I remember is after the celebration in the stands, I went down and I went into the change room, and we were kind of sitting there as a team, and I can't remember who it would have been, but multiple different times fans were basically kicking the door open and coming into the change room being like, guys, and I remember after a few times we pushed them out and be like, just give us a minute, we'll come out. I think I was just in half of my kit, and I just remember kind of looking at everyone and being like, I'm sorry guys, that's all me. I kicked that, like I started that. This one's on me.
So part of the story you might not know as well is you obviously you've kicked all that off. Someone had actually stolen the Man of the Match award from the Newcastle changing room and took it on our supporters bus. And they wouldn't leave until someone returned said crate of beer from the supporters bus. It was a wild night.
That was a wild night.
That was a good time.
For you though, what out of your 3 seasons, what was your most memorable moment for the Stars?
I think it would have had to be for sure when Andy Bell took me to the Island Mall. It was totally off ice. There were some good on ice memories and stuff, but when I look back at my time in Dundee, it was way more about everything that happened off the ice. Like those memories I told you about with my dad, my mom, brother, sister got to come over, my cousins. But when Andy, of course, every Monday we would go to either Ticketies. Most time it was about 3 out of the 4 Mondays we would go to Ticketies, and then one of them, he would say, AJ, do you want to go for a drive? It was always within an hour, 2 hours of Dundee, just places that a normal guy wouldn't know. Like, you guys would all know where we went. Anybody, the imports, would have never guessed to go there. So one day he said, I packed us some sandwiches. Me, you, and Kevy, we're going to go to Oban, and we're going to take the ferry over to Mull, and we're going to see where you're from. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
All right. So it rained the whole way up there. I remember that. And just before we got to go on the boat, it stopped. Clouds went away. It was a beautiful day. It was actually the first day that you could take the boat over to see it. First day the castle was open to, tourists. We didn't know it at the time. We just, Andy and Kevy and I just went. So we got to go through the castle, and I remember being in a room all by myself, and I just hear Andy a couple rooms away. AJ, come here. Someone wants to see you. And I'm thinking, what are the odds of this now? I come all the way to Mull. I'm at the, McLean Clan Castle. And I topped my head. I said, somebody from Dundee who knows Andy or myself must be here. So I walk in, and there's this older gentleman there. He just had a fleece on. His wellies were on, all dirty. And I shook his hand, said, hi, I'm AJ MacLean. Nice to meet you. And Andy says, do you know who this guy is? I'm sorry, I don't. He said, that's the clan chief. He said, that's Sir Lachlan. And I was just like, oh, I think I put my foot in it. I'm so sorry. I said, this is so cool. It was really good. So he had a story for me. He's actually been in my hometown of Antigonish. There's the Highland Games there that are, I think it's one of the oldest Highland Games in all North America. It's a big event. He's been there. And he said when he came to my hometown, somebody, he didn't know the person who did it, but he said, somebody has actually given me a hockey stick, and it has, McLean on it.
Yeah.
Said, oh, really? He said, would that be yours? I said, well, I'm pretty sure there's only 2 people that come out of that town that would ever have McLean on their stick, and one's me and one's my dad. So it's got to be one of ours. And anyways, I went on to make a joke saying, I hope it was holding his tomato plants up or something like that. I said, no, it's in my study. So that for sure was something I'll never ever forget. It was a great trip.
Yeah. And then obviously, then came the time that you decided to retire. Was it, how difficult a decision? No, did you know that was time, that it was time to go? Because obviously, the SOO Greyhounds came knocking. That's your opportunity to go assistant coach.
AJ MacLean.
There it is.
Oh my God.
How you doing?
Hi. What is it? Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good.
It's always good to hear that song.
So for everyone that's now listening and watching this, Mrs. Larzo has intruded the show. Special guest appearance on Mrs. Larzo.
Yeah. You got to
I can go now.
Right, go.
Good to see you.
It's very good to see you too.
Just goes to show how much of an impression you have on us, everyone. It's still.
I love it.
But yeah,
just threatened all day for this, and I'm like, nah, it's never going to happen.
Oh my God.
Let her sit in.
So the SOO Greyhounds came knocking, a chance to go assistant coach to Sheldon Keefe.
Mm-hmm.
When did you know it was time to go? When was it the coaching gig that came up and you thought probably the right time now?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was signed to come back for another year, and I knew, even going over to Scotland, I knew I wanted to play, and I knew I wanted to spend a couple of years, but I also knew that going over there, that was kind of the beginning of the end for me. I knew I was going to have fun, enjoy myself, work hard and all that stuff, but I knew I wasn't going to be there for 10 years playing.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think much of leaving that summer, but I was sitting in Ottawa with my parents, visiting them, and my dad kind of just asked me, we were sitting in his office and at the arena, he said, hey, there's a 3 or 4 assistant coaching jobs in the OHL opened up. Would you want to put your name in for it?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that sounds like it'd be all right. And he goes, well, do you have a resume? I said, nope. He goes, you better go home then. I said, okay. So God love my sister. She was a very big part of me putting together a resume or CV. That was somewhat looked like I had, an education.
Yeah.
I mean, I did all my schooling, but she was a huge part of me being organized. And I sent it on, and with the SOO, they were basically the only place that gave me an interview, which was nice. We talked because I was in Ottawa. Sheldon was only just down the road in Pembroke, so we got to meet up one time, and then I think about a week later, I had another. I think I flew back to Toronto and met with Kyle and Sheldon again for a proper interview, and kind of took off from there. So it was once I kind of knew I was going down that road, then I had to call Dundee and say I'm not coming back. I'm moving on to coaching in North America. So once I knew I had the job, it was a no-brainer. It's always hard to stop playing, and it's hard to leave a place that you really enjoy. That is hard, but you also just kind of know when an opportunity like that comes, you got to take it, because I was ready for the next phase of whatever after hockey was going to be, because I didn't know if I wanted to coach, didn't know if I wanted to be a scout. I didn't know. I knew I loved hockey, and I knew I loved to teach and be around players. I didn't know what avenue I was going to go down. So
and I think that's the thing with the Stars as well. You could see that you had that kind of coach mentor mentality too. Obviously, you took Pip, Jack Watkins under your wing. That is when you were speaking about that, it came to me that you took him under your wing quite a lot.
I miss Pip. I miss him.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss him. Him and Gilsey living with them together. Oh. That was so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No. It's
even Gilsey's back playing again. So Gilsey stopped.
He's got a big wedding this summer, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Gilsey gets married this year. But he's back playing again, and he's back playing with the Dundee Comets. So
good for him.
Yeah, he's made a comeback again. But I was doing a bit of homework, and I looked at your first season with the SOO, and I was just like, I was gone when you see some of the names that were there.
And I know the first name. We know who the first name's going to be.
Yeah, Matt Murray. It's ridiculous that when you look at those teams that you've been with, in that first season, you had Matt Murray, Darnell Nurse, Michael Bunting, and Jared McCann. And it's just see, when you look back now, how does it feel that you were part of these guys' development?
It's pretty cool, especially when it comes to just say a guy like Matt Murray. That was I got to spend a lot of time with him because our goalie coach would fly in and out to help out, and of course most of the kids had school. So when Matt was old, I think Matt was either 8, he might have been 19 at the time. So he didn't have his classes were at a different time where he could have a morning goalie session, and of course they needed somebody to shoot. So more times than not, I would go out there, and between him and the goalie coach, John Elkin, they were the ones who really taught me really about the position of goalie. And while I was listening, I was always trying to almost reverse engineer it of like, okay, well, how do I get our guys to score then? If this is the goalie's plan, how do you either mess up that plan or how do you use the plan against them? And they were very patient, and they would let me ask questions. So why do you do this? Or so if I do that, what da. And it was a really huge part of what is in my toolbox now of coaching, because that always comes to mind where I'm asking our goalie coach all the time, am I seeing this right? Am I seeing this right? Can I use this against them or whatnot? So that was one little piece of the SOO that really was great.
Yeah. You ranked first in those 2 seasons that you were there. Unfortunately, there were 2 semi-final losses. But when you look at the players, it's obviously seniors mentioned the players you coached. When you look at the players you go up against, guys like DeBrincat, Domi, Bertuzzi, I hate to say it, Mitch Marner, obviously Toronto guy, and then quite possibly the best player in the league in Connor McDavid. How difficult was it to win it all?
It's incredibly hard to win it all. Whether it's like when you're playing 3-4 playoff rounds of best of sevens, it's hard. Mm-hmm. It is so hard to win. It might sound silly, but it's easy. It's easy to lose. It's easy to stop when it gets hard. When you're sore, when you're tired, it's easy to go. It's hard to keep going. And of course, the OHL, all three of the Canadian hockey leagues have a lot of talent on a lot of teams. But some of those names that you mentioned, it was pretty incredible to coach against them. That first year that we ended up losing, well, we lost both years to Erie, I believe. But the first year was it was McDavid. I don't think he was even their best player at the time. They had really? Connor Brown. Points wise, I guess Connor Brown was there. Yeah. Another guy who played a little bit of pro named Dane Fox. He had like 65 or 70 goals or something. Mm-hmm. Connor and Andre Burakovsky were like almost secondary. Yeah. It's hard to say that, but point total wise, they were there, and they had some terrific defensemen who are in the NHL. Curtis McDermott, Travis Dermott. I think their goalie Oscar Dance, he's in the AHL, but he had a little bit in the NHL too. It's hard, and even when you get to get pro, it's even that much harder. So we had good teams, but they were just better.
And you look at it as well. The same could be said for Connor Bedard as well. Just now, they went out quite early on, and considering how good a season he was having, and with the junior championship and stuff, it just goes to show how difficult that level is.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I found once I switched to pro and you start dealing with pro guys, it's a whole nother level of hard because it's bigger, it's faster, it's meaner. To win championships is really hard.
Yeah. So then came that very, very dark day for me looking up to AJ MacLean as one of my favourite ever players. Going to the Toronto Marlies. I hate speaking about this, but it's not right. Sheldon was appointed head coach of the Marlies, resulted in yourself spending, I think it was 8 seasons as assistant coach. And that, even again, saying that, 8 seasons, seems such a long time ago. How was the transition for you going from, the junior leagues up to that kind of professional level?
It was a transition. I don't know if I have the right word for it. Like I don't remember being overly intimidated or anything like that. I know you get the excitement, you get those little bit of nerves. I think it was a challenge for me because in the SOO there was I was the penalty kill coach there for 2 seasons.
Sure.
Going to the Marlies, I switched over to be the power play coach. Okay. And that was a big transition, as well as in the SOO we had, there's 3 of us as coaches, and there was a few other people that came on the road with us who helped with, our announcer, our team service, with all that. And now we went to the Marlies where we went from maybe a staff of, 6 to 10 to now the Marlies was legitimately 30 people. Yeah. Who weren't players. They're physicians and equipment, and there's no shortage of people there to make the operation run. So that actually was probably the best part for me was I got to almost be the glue between a lot of different departments where I could basically just be myself and get to know people, and it ended up being really good. I think getting to do the power play hockey wise was a great challenge for me to turn my brain the other way, and I've been running with that ever since. It got me to see a lot more offense than I ever played, which has been great. But going to the Marlies, especially in those early years when we were really developing the new development program, was unbelievable. I got to work with Scott Pellerin, Daryl Belfry, and Mike Ellis. Barb Underhill is an incredible skating coach. They taught me things about, the little intricacies of hockey that I never even looked at, whether it's the angle of your knee, the shin, and how you hold your body and your positioning. And they opened my eyes to a whole new world of detail that I never would have got if I didn't go to the Marlies.
Yeah. And just how different was it once? I nearly said Adam there. They were that used to speaking about Adam Keefe on this podcast. You nearly said that. How different was it when Sheldon moved up to the Leafs and obviously new head coach came in?
Yeah, it's always not difficult, but it's always a change, right? I only ever coached with Sheldon, and we're good friends. And of course, you're used to seeing somebody every day, and then you don't. That's one part that's weird. But I think the thing I would say that I got out of it the most, which was very good, is as you go in with the same people, you kind of, it was my first year coaching. Of course, they gave me my first job and my second job, and not that you're always looking for a stamp of approval, but I think I at the time was kind of always, whatever I was doing, I'd kind of you'd be looking like, is that okay? That's what we want to do. And once he kind of left it, I was I was on my own to figure that part out. And as the last 4 years where we've been apart, I think the best part about it is I've grown way more confident in I know what I'm doing now. I don't have to either ask or look to say, like, what do you think about this? I'm a lot more confident in my abilities to say, no, I want to do this. Yeah. This is how we're doing it, and we're going for it.
Yeah, definitely. Quick fire question for you. Who was your favorite player to coach?
In Toronto?
So far.
I got to say, there's a lot of really good players that have come through here. A lot of guys with high-end skill. A lot of guys who are just nice people. I think my answer is easy. It's Richard Clune. Dickie Clune has to be by far my favorite. There's not a lot of people that you go from being like a player-coach relationship to friends, and he's one of the few people that made that transition. We did it together. We still talk even all the time. But Dickie's a special guy for sure. Just getting to hear how he handled himself throughout those years with us at the rink, and how he helped us as coaches create a culture that ultimately ended up winning. He's just an incredible guy on and off the ice.
Nice. So obviously it was announced that you'd be leaving the Marlies after that season there.
Yeah.
What's next? If you can say.
The NHL draft. I don't think I'm any different than anybody else who's in this position. Like you said, it was 8 years. Even when I was with the Marlies, I would joke around and say, I felt fortunate, and I would say, I should be on my third team by now, because usually in hockey it's every 3 years you move on. So I joked around about that while I was there. I'm fortunate enough to now it's only basically my second team that I have to do. So I'm no different than anybody else in this spot. I'm trying to call and text as many people as you can, go to the draft and meet people, and see where it comes. And so that's really what's next for me.
What we'll do is when we tweet this out, we'll tag Ottawa. Obviously, there's a big disgruntled fan base in Ottawa just now with DJ in charge. So I'll put some feelers out there. Okay, so we'll see on that. All right.
You've got to remember, AJ's already worked with Kyle Dubas.
Hey,
so you may get the phone call from Pittsburgh.
I'll never turn my nose up from help from anybody. Okay.
Listen. If we're gonna go here, senior, right? We all know Kyle Dubas was holding out for Ottawa, and we made the stupid decision to prolong the sale of the club, and ended up sticking with Dorian. So
you guys leave me out of that.
You guys were second choice.
He's saying nothing. He's right on the fence, just in case the phone goes.
I'm just a guest here, guys. I'm just a guest.
But AJ, obviously, we've been trying to get this organised for a while. Obviously, with clubs and permissions, and obviously you were in the pros, so we couldn't. You are a free agent. We are extremely grateful for you coming on. We've absolutely loved every minute of it. But we've got one final question. What is your final message to all the Stars fans?
You might need another hour. I guess it's thanks for not forgetting about me. Whether it was the team, anyone who worked within the team, anybody who was a supporter, and anybody who was outside of the hockey world that I ran into in Dundee, I haven't forgot about you guys. That's for sure. I tell stories. I have memories. What do they call it? Core memories. I have so many positive things where even when all this came about, where I was let go or not extended with the Marlies, even my wife said, would you ever think of going back to Dundee? And you say, well, yeah, of course. There's never say never. It does mean a lot that you guys didn't forget about me, because everybody holds such a dear place in my heart. I was fortunate enough to be there and be welcomed, and it was the best place for me to finish off playing hockey.
Yeah. Well, listen, as
fans,
we said,
sorry, Junior, as fans, AJ, certainly in Dundee fans have always said, you play for the name on the front of the jersey and leave everything else to the fans, right? And when guys like yourself came in and play for the name on the front of the jersey rather than the name on the back, that's why you're never ever forgotten, ever.
Yeah, I was just going to say, JD might be Mr. Dundee and the top point scorer. You've got guys like Jeff Marshall and Dryden Dow now currently, just with how well they play and how much they absolutely love the club. The guys are never forgotten. You certainly always come into that bracket of a Stars legend. It was only 3 seasons, but it felt a lot longer. And honestly, the amount of people, I have kept this so under wraps that we were getting you on the show. I told a couple of people, and they could not believe. They were like, I can't wait for this. I honestly, tell AJ said, Jack Ingles was one of them, our old water boy.
Oh yeah, how is
Mumbles.
Jack doing?
Mumbles was saying, I can't. Oh my God, AJ, I can't wait. And everyone will never forget you. You are a Stars legend.
That means a lot to me. It does. I mean, like I said, that place is near and dear to my heart, and I really would like to bring my sons over one day just to show them, whether the team is around or not. They're still going to make it to Dundee one day, where I could show them around the city, and I'd be pretty sad if nobody was around for them to meet, right? Like you guys and Brucey and JD and the crew. So you guys have something special going on there.
Yeah. Well, again, AJ, thank you so much for your time. Senior and I both greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, certainly do.
We'll try not to put too much shit on it, just in case it might harbour some jobs in the future. But no, thank you again for your time, Senior. That's it for us in this episode. Hopefully, we'll have a couple more former players lined up over the next, what's this, June, July, August, 2 and a bit months before the season starts.
Yeah.
So, thanks again for listening. Thanks again for watching on YouTube and that as well. And we'll see you all soon.